Georgia.
Georgia.
What? No, where at? Was that Columbus?
Columbus, Georgia. To to Truckee, California. And I was the only one that could drive. We was pulling the trailer. My father-in-law and mother-in-law were sitting in the back seat with my younger brother-in-law and my daughter. Let's see, my daughter and son, my two daughters and son. They were sitting in the back seat with them, and the baby was in my wife's lap. She was sitting next to me, and I was driving. And her older brother was sitting on the far side
Mm-hmm.
in the front seat. Drove all the way
Oh, shoes.
from Georgia to Albuquerque, New Mexico. I started having trouble with my transmission. Honey. It would stick. And whenever we went through rain,
It's a rabbit.
for some reason, it would plug up the vent that goes into the gas tank to let the air come in so the gas will flow. And when I run through rain or water, that would plug up for some reason.
Turn that light off.
And so I'd have to go back there and open the cap up on the gas tank so it could get air, and then it would be all right. I could go. So we got out there and started having trouble with the transmission in Albuquerque.
New Mexico?
Yeah. And so we went on. We got and, and and before I left, I went to a truck driver friend of mine who drove for who was it? I can't think now.
Before you left where?
Yellow, I think. Before I left
Columbus?
Columbus,
Hmm.
I went to this truck driver friend of mine and I asked him if he had any bennies to keep me awake so I could drive and not go to sleep. And he says, I've only got one Benny. He said, I hesitate to tell you, but I've got a goofball. But he says, don't take the goofball if you don't have to, because those goofballs will make drivers do crazy stuff. He says that there's been drivers that would take a goofball and they'd be driving down the highway and see a truck coming at them, and they'll think it's they're coming into the city, and so they'll aim for it between the lights, or they'll see the reflectors on a bridge and think it's somebody parked there, and they'll turn out to pass. So he said, don't take that goofball if you don't have to, because it causes truck drivers to have a lot of wrecks taking them goofballs. So,
Turn that light off.
so I said, okay, I'll remember that. Well, my father-in-law was listening to all of this, and so he didn't want me to take the goofball. He didn't want me to take the Benny, but Bennies won't do anything but keep you awake until it.
Is that the Benzedrine you were telling
Yeah.
me? Yeah.
And so I had got clear out there, and then uh, I got to Flagstaff and turned up going up through Arizona, and not Arizona, Nevada. I got up through Las Vegas. I still didn't have to take that goofball, and I got up to the town just north of Las Vegas. I can't remember the name of it. and I I stopped for 15 minutes to take a nap because I was trying to keep from taking the goofball. And so I took a 15-minute nap, and I had them wake me up, and they didn't want to wake me up. But I said, if I sleep any longer, I'll have to sleep all night. And we've got to get there because we don't have that much money. And the longer we stay out here, we're running out of money. And I get there, I've got a job, and I can make money. So, and my father-in-law will be able to get him a job. So we got to that first town. It took 15 minutes, and then I tried to leave town, and my transmission, one of the valves in the transmission, automatic transmission, would stick. So I had to drive up the wrong way out of that town to go up a hill, and then I started put it in gear and got it started, and then I put it in neutral. So I coast down and get going real fast, and I throw it into drive, and maybe it'd knock that valve loose. Well, I did it one time and it didn't work, so I had to go back up there and do it again. Well, the second time, the valve came loose and then it started shifting right. So I wasn't fully rested. I was still tired, so I took the goofball. And so we were driving on up there, and it's quite a ways. I guess I went maybe 150, 200 miles, something like that. And the car started sputtering and everything. And I didn't have a speedometer. The speedometer didn't work. So I didn't know how fast I was going. So I could have been going 60 miles an hour, and and then it quit, and it started jerking. And I thought, oh man, I've got to get back there and turn that gas cap open so it to take air. But I hadn't been driving through rain. But I had that goofball, and so I thought, well, how am I going to do this? Well, I'll slow down to about 25. I can run 25 miles an hour. And so I'll slow down to 25, and I'll get my wife. She can hold the steering wheel, go straight. And I says, and whatever you do, don't stop. Keep it going, whatever you do. Because I don't want to stop out here because I might not get that transmission to shifting again. So whatever you do, just keep going. And so I said, have you got that? She says, yeah. And I said, okay. And she believed everything I told her. And I said, now I'm going to jump out, and I'll go back there and loosen the cap so it'll take air, and then I'll run back up here and jump in. But I says, whatever you do, don't stop. Now, just keep it 25 miles an hour. Well, I slowed down. Well, if you're doing 65 or 70 miles an hour and you slow down, you might feel like you're creeping, but you're still going pretty good miles, you know. And I could have been going over 25 miles an hour. I can run 25 miles an hour. So I says, you ready? She says, yeah. She says, here, Jack, hold Richard. That's the baby. And, huh? Oh, he was asleep. He said, huh? What? And so when she did that, she just reached over and grabbed the wheel, and I jumped out. And Jack says, what do you do? Where'd Jerry? Says he jumped out. What? That woke up Grandpa in the back seat. Her dad was in the back seat. And he says, "Where's Jerry?" Says he jumped out. Stop this car. He says. She says he said don't stop it no matter what. I don't care what he said. Stop this car because he knew I'd taken that goof off, and he knew what was up. And so,
So how fast did you run?
huh?
How fast did you run?
Well, I stepped out, and when my foot hit the pavement, I went somersault in the air, and I come out spread eagle on that highway. Wonder I didn't get fall underneath the wheels of that trailer that we was pulling. And so, see, I had used more gas because I'm pulling a trailer, and I didn't allow for that. And nothing worked on the dash, so and nothing worked up here either because I'd taken that goof off. and, so when I hit, I flipped over, and of course I'd taken that goof ball, so it was about like a drunk man, you know. He can be in an accident and come out, you know, no no harm done because he limbered uh, if he's conscious or unconscious. But anyway, so I jumped up off of the pavement. It was dark out. It was midnight, at least midnight, and maybe after. And I jumped up and started. Right, hey! them lights, them tail lights kept getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. You know, hey!
You're in the desert, right? Is that where you were
Yeah,
at?
out in the desert there. Well, I didn't know it, but we was 5 miles from Goldfield, uh, Nevada, which is probably I don't know. I'd say maybe 75 miles south of Fallon, and Fallon is east of Reno by maybe 100 miles. So anyway, I'm yelling, "Hey!" And finally, I just give up and start walking. And finally, I see her pull off, stop down there, and her brother, her big brother, got out with a flashlight. Jerry, and he'd go over and look down in this ditch, and then he'd go over the other ditch and look down the other ditch. Jerry, and I just let him holler. And finally, well, we met up and walked back together, got in the car, and so